Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of InSight. InSight is a series of interview programs here at Vision Resources Audio Services. And today's a special day. I'm not going to lie to you. If you're just tuning in, you are going to want to sit back and listen to this interview because we are going to have a lot of fun and a very interesting 30 minutes ahead of us. I'm so honored to have with me Dr. Gary Kirman, whose practice Kirman Eye in Hummelstown is so well known and so well liked in the community. And Doctor, it's great to have you with us today. Thank you.
You're welcome, Father Michael.
And before we get into the interview, I have to tell everybody Dr. Kirman has been a tremendous supporter of Vision Resources of Central Pennsylvania for many years. So, Doctor, to you and your wife Jody, our sincere thanks for all you have done for us, and can't tell you how much we appreciate it.
Well, you're welcome. It's a great organization. It comes alongside all of the eye doctors in the Central Pennsylvania area.
And Doctor is now a member of our board of directors, so welcome aboard for that as well.
Thank you.
So we're here today to talk about a significant event in the life of Vision Resources, and that's our event that's coming up called Visions of Monte Carlo. And Visions of Monte Carlo is a spectacular event that has so many different aspects to it. It's got great food, great music, games of chance, and all that. But today what we wanted to do was zero in on something about visions that Dr. Kirman is going to address with us, and he's going to give us his experience. Last year, Doctor and his wife Jody went on an African safari and traveling to Africa, of course. Doctor, is that something that you and your wife have always wanted to do?
Well, it got spurred on by the online auction from Vision Resources, actually. We do love to travel, but never really dreamed about going to Africa necessarily, other than maybe seeing the pyramids. But when she saw this come up as an online auction, she said to me, "Hey, Gary, would you think you would like to go to South Africa?" And as we looked into the information on the trip, we said, yes, we definitely want to bid on it.
Not a question your wife asks you normally any day of the week, is it?
No,
like to go to
not
South
at all.
Africa. And that's the exciting part of what we're talking about today, is that we're going to be offering this adventure again this year. It's going to be auctioned off again at this year's Visions of Monte Carlo. We'll get into that in just a few minutes. As a matter of fact, Paul Zawinski from Vision Resources is going to give us information about this fabulous event. So, all right, so you live in Hummelstown, yes?
Yes, that's correct.
And you've never been to South Africa before?
Never had been. No.
So take us through the journey.
Well, it was quite remarkable. As I said, with the online auction, it was different than everything else that's done the Visions of Monte Carlo night, which I've attended a number of those to support Vision Resources. But it was online, so my wife was on her phone, and we had talked about a bid. It was for a trip for 10 days for 4 people to a safari lodge, which you could either do photography, or if you wanted to hunt, you could also hunt. And, of course, we were there to just take pictures and take in the beautiful surroundings of South Africa.
You're not a hunter, I take it.
I am a hunter.
Oh, you are
a
hunter.
Yes,
okay.
I love to go whitetail hunting.
Oh, okay.
Each year.
Okay.
But for this trip, we just wanted to take in the beauty.
Right.
And so, as the short story goes, my wife and I came up with a bid, and we still didn't know, as we're sitting and we're doing the gaming after the dinner. And at 8:30, Cheryl Cuddy announced, "Congratulations to Dr. Gary Kirman and his wife. You have now won the bid." And so it was a surprise. And we looked at each other. We were at different tables. And my first thought was, oh, no, how much did you bid?
Of course.
But it was quite remarkable. That was last April. And so then we set our sights on being in contact with the safari group, and it was just tremendous. So we set our sights on, we had a year to determine when we wanted to go, and we decided we were happy to leave Pennsylvania in the middle of winter. So
Smart.
over in South Africa, their summer is January and February.
Okay.
So we left on the 19th of January and returned February 6th. So we were there for about 3 weeks because our 10-day adventure turned into an additional excursions while we were there.
Nice. So when I think of the word summer and Africa, I have to ask, how hot was it there?
Yes, well, that's where my mind went also.
Yeah.
I think about the deserts and the excessive heat. But we were in South Africa, actually below the Tropic of Capricorn. Actually got to stand on the Tropic of Capricorn, which was
Nice.
really cool. 1 foot in the tropics and 1 foot out.
Yeah.
And any case, it was comfortable. It was early mid-90s, and at night it would go down to the low 70s, and it was very comfortable. There was very low humidity, although that's their, quote, rainy season. They get only like an inch or so a month. So it was very lush. It wasn't dry. All of the trees, all of the grasses were green. And one of the most beautiful things that my wife and our other couple loved was that many of the animals have their young in November and December. So
Okay.
every animal that we saw, whether it was a wildebeest, elephant, impala, on and on, we saw the babies.
Oh, how
They were
beautiful.
alongside the
Oh,
adults, and that was very special, especially for my wife and
yeah.
the other gal. Yes.
Now, how many hours did it take to fly there?
Well, we took a little bit of a roundabout route. We went to Doha, Qatar, which was a 13-hour flight from Philadelphia.
Okay.
And then we had a layover, so we stayed in an airport hotel there, which is right part of the airport. And then we flew another 8 hours from Doha over to Johannesburg.
Okay. So you had things broken up a little bit.
We did break it up.
Yeah.
You can take a direct flight from Atlanta to Johannesburg, which is about a 13-hour flight.
Okay. Yeah,
Yes.
beautiful. So you get there, and you get off the plane, and what are your first thoughts?
Well, it was just tremendous just landing there. And we had our host was waiting with a little poster that said the Kirman Group. And he came with his van and picked us up, helped us with our luggage. And then we had about a 2.5-hour drive north to the lodge, which was in a 400-acre facility in South Africa. And beautiful lodge, hosts probably up to about 18 people. But my wife and I and Paul and Teresa, our guests, were the only 4 that were there because it's kind of their off season for safaris. Most of the hunting goes from March to end of October.
Okay.
And so it was a great time for them. In fact, I asked the host if he was sad that we were only taking pictures, and he said, no, he loved it. They take all sorts of professional photographer groups out different times of the year, but he said this is a great time to see all of the animals and their young.
So before we get to the photography, I have to ask you about a subject near and dear to my heart.
Yes.
How is the food?
Oh my gosh. So when you go, everything is taken care of. The bid takes care of all your food, all of your drink. And at the lodge, they have a private chef. And
Just for 4 people?
Yes.
Wow.
So he had come down from Zimbabwe, and we had arrived on a Sunday night. And so we had a interim cook, which was the mother of our host, and she just made some wonderful homemade South African dishes. And so we had breakfast laid out every morning with fresh bread and anything we wanted to eat. And then we would go out on our safari adventure for about 3 hours in the morning, come back, have a prepared lunch for us, and then we'd go back. We'd take a break from the sun. We wouldn't go back out till about 3:30, and we'd go out for 3 hours again, come back, and dinner was always about 7:30, and we had a formal presentation from the cook from Zimbabwe, which was awesome. So he would tell us what we were having for the evening.
Did you experience any foods that you had never had before?
Most of it was what we didn't have before.
Oh, okay.
But yes, it was, I mean, the vegetables were the same.
Yeah.
Asparagus and carrots and mashed potatoes and so forth like that, which they grew right there. It was all fresh, of course. But we had game, we had impala, we had hartebeest. And alongside with that, the chef would then make, a piece of chicken,
Yeah,
for
sure.
if you wanted to just try the game but didn't like it.
Right.
But he was a professional chef, and it was wonderful. Everything was presented nicely, and then we'd have a really unique South African dessert.
Beautiful. And your accommodations comfortable? Everything was to your liking?
Oh my gosh, it was tremendous. What we came to actually experience in reality was different than our visions of it, even from pictures that we had seen on the website. And a nice lodge with our own private room, our own private bathroom, an area that was a eating area for breakfast and dinner. It was outfitted with probably 50 plus taxidermied animals. It was just tremendous, just learning all about the animals there as you're sitting eating dinner, and then a nice open outdoor facility for their bar with a pool table, and we played a lot of cards out at a table there, and we would just look out their backyard, and at different times we saw a troop of baboons that came by, 25 baboons that we just watched go by. We saw porcupines at night eating, and the stars, of course, were tremendous. There is no light pollution there at all.
I bet, yeah. If you're just joining us, you're listening to InSight here on Vision Resources Audio Services of Central Pennsylvania. This is Father Michael Scalzi. My special guest today is Dr. Gary Kirman of Kirman Eye in Hummelstown. Doctor is a board member now of Vision Resources, and he and his wife Jody had the tremendous experience of going on an African safari last year, and we'll tell you more about how you can possibly do that as well. But in our pre-interview meeting, Doctor, you were saying that even though you're a hunter, big game hunting was not necessarily what took up your time, that you and Jody love photography. Tell us about that.
Well, it was just tremendous. In that area of South Africa, which was up in the mountains, about 4,400 feet elevation, all of the properties are private. So whether you owned 400 acres like our hosts, or you own 2,000 or 4,000 or 6,000 acres, all of the properties are fenced in with a 10-foot high fence. And so our host would take us. We would ride in the nice 4 seats in the bed of a pickup truck, which was very nice with drinks and so forth like that, so we stayed hydrated. And we would visit these different properties, and you just never knew what you were going to see. You could be driving along and see wildebeest, or you'd see impala, or you'd see a giraffe, or you would see hippopotamus.
Wow.
And they were just all out in the wild. And, of course, we stayed within our car.
Sure.
And we would do those visits to different properties, had some different animals on them. And we would just pull up to a herd of wildebeest and stop the truck and just watch them. And they would be, when you're in a vehicle, they're not afraid of you. So they would be 15 feet from you.
Really?
Just carrying on their normal business, yes.
Wow.
And we would see the young, and we would see them feeding, and just quite remarkable to see how each animal was designed and how it had its own special gait as it would run. And saw mixes of animals all together. We would see eland and wildebeest and blessbuck and waterbuck and Then we would see warthogs running in the distance.
Oh my!
And then we would see monkeys up in the trees.
Yeah, yeah.
We would see a Gila monster lizard climbing up the tree. So after a while, we didn't know where to look. Should we look up in the trees? Should we look behind us, in front of us, beside us? There was always something new around the next corner.
So that's why you told me that you had over 3,000 photographs with you today.
Yes.
I can imagine your camera must have been clicking constantly.
Oh my goodness, it was amazing. My wife was in charge of most of the still shots, which she got some beautiful shots, and Paul and Teresa and I were doing still shots and videos with our cell phones. And as I said, you were so close to the animals, you could see them, quiver to get the flies off their bodies. You could see the little birds that were landing on them to pick the ticks off, and all of the detail was just quite remarkable.
Oh, I can't even picture it. It must have been just so beautiful and something you've never experienced before in your life.
No, it was just an outstanding experience. For those of you that think about, would I really love it? It would be beyond your expectations. Just the beauty of God's design in the world and how the animals just interact with their environment, the environments that they need to survive and thrive. And you realize that you are just a little speck in the world.
Yeah,
when you're in South Africa, for sure.
Yeah, it drives in the perspective of things, doesn't it? Yeah.
It really does.
Now, unfortunately, Jody couldn't be with us today, so I'm going to ask you to speak for her. You and I are guys.
Yes.
So everything you're talking about appeals to me tremendously, but I'm wondering if any lady who is listening to this interview today is thinking, well, this sounds like a guy thing. It sounds like, 4 guys would get together and fly to Africa and South Africa and have this wonderful experience. But if Jody were sitting here, what would she tell us about her experiences?
She would just be raving about it. Again, very nice accommodations, king-size bed, private room, private bathroom, desk. Oh, and on top of that, the best thing that we love, but the women especially loved, is that we had a hamper in our room. So every night we would put our dirty clothes in the hamper. Every day the help would come and they would wash our clothes and they would iron them and they would be on our bed when we got back after dinner.
Oh my!
So
whoa, royalty.
Yes, when they said they had washing service, we thought, oh, okay, well they have their own washer and dryer machine, and we would do it.
Yeah, you would do it yourself.
It is all done for you. You are treated like royalty when you walk into this lodge, from professional cook to the host, which knows all about the history of South Africa, the experience with the animals, and she would just love every morning getting up, having a cup of coffee out on the veranda and in the back and watching the animals. And she really was looking forward to an elephant experience. And we did that as a excursion from our normal everyday, going to the different properties. And so we went to an animal rescue site that was about 2,000 acres, and a gentleman had dedicated his funds and so forth to rescuing elephants that had been injured. And so we had an amazing elephant experience where we walked out into this property, and the handlers said, okay, call Elephant Susie, tell her that you want to meet her. And so we'd say, hey, Susie, come and meet us. And all of a sudden this elephant would come walking out from behind.
Is that right? Really?
It was remarkable.
Oh, my gosh.
And so we were up close and personal. We had a guide that talked us all about the elephants. And then the elephant had a handler who was constantly, feeding the elephant, keeping it calm and so forth, so we could interact. And they would give us a little history about why each elephant was selected and how it got there. And we had a chance to hug the elephant, to have it lay down, for us to go up and actually kind of caress the back of the elephant.
Yeah.
And I got a little bit of experience of an elephant eye and how they have a nictitating membrane instead of eyelids.
Of course you would look at that.
Of course I would love that.
Of course you would.
But it was a tremendous experience that we all love very much. And I would say the other thing that she really loved was the wine.
Oh, okay, really?
South African wine is very good.
Is it different? Is it different than what we have?
It can be a little bit different.
Okay.
And it was really great. We enjoyed that pretty much each evening, and it was just a nice way to kind of cap off the day. And her experience was just, again, to the moon. It was tremendous.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm thinking of King and Queen Kirman were treated like royalty while you were there.
Absolutely.
Good for you. Yeah. You're listening to InSight here at Vision Resources, and my guest today is Dr. Gary Kirman from Kirman Eye in Hummelstown. And so did the trip meet all of your expectations, Doctor?
Well, it met and exceeded them tremendously. We had the trip was for 10 days, and the hosts offer excursions out from their property in addition to the normal safari adventure, whether you're photography or if you were going out on a hunt. And so we chose a 3-day excursion to Kruger National Park, which in perspective is about the size of the state of New Jersey.
Really?
And so,
oh
yes.
Gosh. Small place, huh?
It was tremendous. And there we had to be inside a van because there's no convertibles, no open air. It's somewhat like if you were thinking about going through Yellowstone National Park, where you have elk and bison and bear. You're in that environment.
You're in their neighborhood.
You're in their neighborhood.
Yeah.
So we went there. It was a 3-day excursion, and to our delight, it did not take away from our 10 days. So it was in addition to our 10 days. And there it was just an amazing experience of not just seeing an elephant, a Cape buffalo, a zebra. I'm talking thousands of animals we saw in 3 days. We were at a watering hole where there was 30 elephants, 50 Cape buffalo, 300 zebra, wildebeest. It was just tremendous. And so we got to be kind of up close and personal. We had an elephant that didn't really like where we were, and so we got out of the way pretty quick.
Yeah.
But it was an amazing experience. And after that, when our host took us back to Johannesburg, which is where we flew into, I had a patient who had honeymooned in South Africa and asked him, what would you do if you had to go over there again, wanted to go over there again, what would you not miss? And he said Cape Town. And so we flew from Johannesburg down to Cape Town and spent 3 days in Cape Town before we came back up and back to the United States.
I think you've answered my next question, my last question, and just in the few seconds we have left, because Paul Zawinski is going to join us. Doctor, would you want to do this again? Would you want to visit South Africa again?
Absolutely. It's a beautiful country, and we saw just a tiny sliver of what is there to be offered. Many more excursions that can be booked up to Victoria Falls, or if you're a ornithologist and love to see birds, if you want to go fishing, there are many, many opportunities that we just didn't have time to do in 3 weeks.
Awesome. Let me turn the mic over to Paul for a few minutes here, and Paul's going to give us some information so our listeners can know more about Visions of Monte Carlo, and perhaps they will be bidding on the African safari. Paul?
Thank you very much, Michael, and thank you, Dr. Kirman. You painted such a wonderful picture for listeners' mind's eye about what was probably truly a memorable life experience for you and your wife. And thank you very much for coming in. And we're so happy that you had such a wonderful time. You, too, can bid on the next African Safari. It will be part of the 24th Visions of Monte Carlo, which will be Thursday, April 18th. And it's at the Sheraton Harrisburg Hershey Hotel on Lindell Road. And it's just one of my favorite fundraising experiences that we have here at Vision Resources, because it's a fun celebration of what Vision Resources is as an agency for the blind and visually impaired, and the people that make it possible. People like you that come to this dinner, people like you that might make place a bid on an auction item like the African Safari. Now, tickets are $90 per person, and if you would like to maybe bring some friends or some coworkers, it's you can get reserve a table of 10 guests for $850. This just telling you what's on the website. Our website is www.vrocp.org, and there will be more details. We'll probably have some of Dr. Kirman's pictures posted there, so you can see those eventually. Yes. You can also go to the website. It's not set up yet, but soon it'll be set up that you can make a bid prior to Visions of Monte Carlo. But Visions of Monte Carlo, when that takes place, the bids will finalize on that evening. And just like for Dr. Kirman, you might hear your name called out as the person that's going to go on the safari. Now, there are two trips to bid on. There's a trip for two people, and there's a trip for four, just like Dr. Kirman had taken. So we hope you'll come. Visions of Monte Carlo, just give you an idea. It starts off with hors d'oeuvres and maybe an adult beverage and appetizers while you're looking through the silent auction items. Then there's a seated meal, which includes a stuffed chicken breast, grilled flank steak, or a vegetable strudel. Your choice. And then there's dancing to live music from the One More Time band. And then there's casino-style gaming, blackjack, Texas Hold'em, you name it. So we hope you'll consider it. Again, the website is www.vrocp.org, or call us at 717-238-2531.
Paul, thanks. That's a good overview of the event, and we appreciate that. Again, the easiest way would be to just go on the website. Am I right? To just get all the information, www.vrocp.org. Well, we just have a few seconds left, and I want to thank Dr. Gary Kirman of Kirman Eye in Hummelstown for thank you for your time today. Thank you for giving us, in at least my mind's eye, a beautiful overview of your experience in South Africa. But as I said at the very beginning, Doctor, thanks to you and Jody and your staff for all you've done for Vision Resources, and we hope that that you'll be with us for many, many more years to come.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It was my pleasure, and it was a great experience. I can't encourage you enough to at least go online and bid on that African safari.
This is Vision Resources of Central Pennsylvania. InSight interview. I'm Father Michael Scalzi. Thanks for listening.